I'm Scott Al Miller. This is my life living in Leon, Nicaragua. It's Thursday night. That means it is time for the Thursday Night Live. And even though it's on the late side, we're starting at 5 o'clock Central, which is 6 o'clock U.S. Central, which is 7 o'clock Eastern. It's really bright out and feels super early. So I feel like we're getting started at a completely different time, but this is actually, if anything, on the late side. But we're getting the ball rolling. So welcome to the show. And, hi everyone, good to be here. It's time to hang out for Thursday. As always, I'm going to be running around posting the link to different groups so people know that we are online and they can join up. Hope that everyone has had a good week. I was in Managua for a couple days this week, which was nice. Always a nice change of pace to be out there. And we had a nice time. Took the kids out. We stayed at a nice apartment in Santo Domingo, which is fun. Spent a lot of time actually just restaurants and playing board games with the kids. But Janet says, "Oh, weird. This is Thursday." Yes, Janet, it is in fact Thursday. The Thursday leading into Semana Santa. Justin JG is here. Hi, Scott. Hey, Justin. How is it going? Let's see, I got to get onto the Expats group and let them know. Not actually signed in at the moment. I've had an incredibly busy day. It's quiet here because of Semana Santa, and so I've been working a lot at my desk. I've actually been getting a lot done, so I'm very busy in a very productive kind of way. No, most days I'm just constantly bombarded by meetings and meeting people calling me nonstop, needing to intervene with HR stuff. But most of our teams are off today, and those that are on are running at skeleton staff. So we are pretty quiet. Most of our clients as well are off or quiet going into Easter, and so it is. It's a nice day to just sit down and get work done. So I've been at my desk for an entire 9 hours, nonstop, doing work. And just checking with all my... I'm covering the desk tonight. Who do we got here? All right, Luke is here. Hey, Luke. Sean Ellis is here. Hello from the Ellises up in Canada. Can't wait to move to Nicaragua. John Mason is here. Good evening. Hey, everybody. All right, let me go see if I can find some of these. It looks like some of these tickets have not been being paid attention to. Or maybe they have, and I just don't realize it. Need a little caffeine. Been a busy day. So what has everybody been up to? What do you got plans for Easter? What's going on? All right, that does not need my attention, luckily. Always good. Cheryl Hodges is here. Welcome to the show. Just getting rolling here. We just got everyone signed in. I'll let my dad know that the show is on. Oh, I still haven't posted in Expats. That's what I'm missing. Luke says, another, not enough. Janet says, I'll be leaving shortly. I'm pretty sure, but I'm here. Luke says, more ambassador duties in Matagalpa this week with enough expats visiting the town. With another expat visiting the town. Read that out of order. Now it makes sense. Okay, just checking my mail. Really could do this before I start the show, but it's my chance to like sit down and do quiet for a minute. So as people are joining, it's always it takes a minute for everybody to get on, although we have 15 people on already, so a good number of people. Hope everyone's doing well. That's great, 15. So it's Easter weekend here, and that means that it is a big party out at the beach. Everyone is heading out there. So for me, I am not a big party person, and when the beach gets full, it is my time to run away. I'd like to hide, as many expats do. One, it's cheaper because everything is more expensive when you go out for the Semana Santa holiday, but also it is just crowded, right? You feel like you are in the way, and I really appreciate being able to just get away and not have to compete for beach resources or whatever. And I have no reason to be there. It's not a tradition for me, so it's a good deal. My dad says I already signed in with some very poor typing. Okay. John says I had to add a battery and charger and a few M2 SSDs, which I already owned, but still a nice computer for the price. Did I miss something? Oh, so I indulged my addiction again and bought a Dell Precision 7710 at auction for $110. Not bad. Luke says, had that, and I got a mosquito. Had that initial urgent dental encounter. Yes, he lost a crown. Had a crown reattached in less than 2 hours. Walk in, $42.50. Ben Lander, hello Scott. Feliz Santa Semana. It's Semana Santa, other way around. Poolside for the holidays, like every good Nika. Oh, very nice. That's awesome. I am just hiding in my office working. That is my vibe. But I did that Managua trip with my kids. And we're going to do a Granada trip coming up. My daughter, Luciana, the youngest, the one who does the thumbnails for the Thursday Lives, she wants to go see Granada. And what we're trying to do, if we can pull it off, is actually stay in the house that we lived in 11 years ago, and she does not remember the house. I think when she sees pictures, she's like, that kind of feels familiar, and it hasn't changed too much, although they did replace the living room with a bedroom, but that should be cool. It didn't need that living room, and they replaced the garage with a living room. So I think it's a big improvement overall, without having seen it firsthand, but I have high hopes that it's a good improvement over the way that it was before. And so looking forward to checking that out. And it would be so cool if this works out, to be able to go back and stay. Like, we've never gotten to do this before. Actually get to go back and stay in the house that we used to live in when my kids were little. We'd love to do that in Spain and take my kids back to Cañar, where we used to live, because they do have a little bit of memories of that. I'd love to go back and stay in the same place in Panama. I'd love to go back to our place in Greece. There's places I don't care about. I don't care about going back to my house in Italy. I don't care at all. Ukraine, don't need to go back to the same place. Would love to go back to Ukraine, but not the apartment. Romania, there's a part of me that would like to see that house again. I love my village there, but definitely some places like our original house in Nicaragua, so many memories are there, and it's going to immediately be like, oh, remember when, and I know, like, I've talked about this a lot on the show, that we play Nancy Drew while I was sitting at the dining room table at that house when we bought Nancy Drew for the kids, and it was in the upstairs eastern bedroom that we sat around and played Back to the Future, the video game, with my kids, which was like this really important first time that both of my kids were like really seriously playing video games. Now, I have memories of earlier that year or very late 2014 in New York playing Space Quest with my kids and playing, I'll get the name, Night of the Rabbit with Liesel and a few games like that. I have like these, Liesel and I started playing video games because she's older, together before Luciana started playing. And so Liesel and I had several games that we really got into and really enjoyed together. And she was starting to play them before Luciana started to play games with us. But then Space Quest was the first that Luciana got really into the game and was really excited about it. And Lisa would play, or I would play, and Luciana would watch, and the three of us would hang out. And so that started our tradition. Right at the end of 2014, right at the beginning of 2015, in our house in Peekskill, New York, we would sit, and I had this little it wasn't a bay window, but a kind of a tiny bay window kind of thing. And we would sit there with my computer, and that's where we would play video games together. And that started this lifetime tradition we have of gaming together, which is really special for us. And then when we started moving abroad, that got a little bit tougher. We weren't able to do it nearly as much. But when we were in Nicaragua, we had this opportunity to do it more, and we knew it was like a thing we were going to do. It's just, all the living abroad kind of gave us new things to focus on. But we kind of had some quiet time while we were in Nicaragua, and Luciana was just old enough that she was like really getting into the games, like understanding what was going on, not just like, oh, funny things happening or whatever. And so we played this Telltale game, Back to the Future, where it's like playing a movie, and really, really were able to dig into it and get really into the game and the mechanics and the story, and excited about the whole thing. And it was an amazing experience overall, right? And it's one of the few games, if any, that we've gone back and played multiple times. I think 3 times we've gone all the way through that game, which is really cool, right? So we just have these great memories of that house, and it's where we had a pool in the living room. So it would be so neat to be able to go back and stay in that house. And I know we want to go to Spain. My kids really want to see Spain again because they were too young when they were there, and they have not had a chance to return since we lived there, which is crazy that they haven't been back in we were there before we lived in Nicaragua, so quite some time ago. And it's high on the list of places that they're considering when they're older that they might want to live in. And so we definitely want to go back and spend some time. We would love to be able to go back and see our old house there, right, and reconnect with that old place, because how cool, right, to be able to go and see it. Hold on, I gotta check this ticket. I think someone put it in wrong. Oh, and my dog is whining. I'll be right back. Just got to grab the dog. And she's at the door. And she is sad that we're doing the show without her. Come on, Mia. There's my dog. Yes, you are here. It's not like you're lonely. You got lots of people out there. All right. John says 32 gig of RAM. Oh, nice. With memory prices what they are now, I'm glad I have a stockpile of SSDs. Luke says awaiting Shafella delivery. Lunch was Diagon Alley. Always wild seeing most of the city shut down. Tomorrow will be totally silent. Yes, I'm hoping for nothing tomorrow. It feels like the weekend. That's one of the cool things. Is like today was Thursday, but it sure felt like a Saturday to me. I was confused about, like, are we supposed to be doing the live stream? Are we supposed to be? Am I supposed to be like covering the shift tonight? Like, oh yeah, I am. Jen says, can I double check with you? As I understand it, I can use the mini DP and the USB-C with an adapter to add monitors for extended desktops. True. So a mini DP should be able to work regardless, just on its own. A mini DP is supposed to be able to do that. It's a DisplayPort. USB-C can, under correct circumstances, be used for a monitor. Not all circumstances, but many. So that probably will work. So you might be able to get several monitors out of that, depending on your GPUs and stuff. Luke says, John, even with Amazon's 60% off Amazon SSD sale, they are still 2.5 times the price of a year ago. Yeah, we've noticed that for sure. And even cloud storage is going up. However, worth noting for those who just need volume, spinners I don't think have gone up in price. So if you just need capacity and not performance, consider this is a weird throwback, but you can buy traditional spinning hard drives to carry you through. which I actually use a lot of because of the show. Editing the videos and stuff doesn't require SSD. You really don't notice because it's all loaded into RAM. So I do all of my downloading and stuff like that to spinning drives, and it's saves a ton of money. Do I want to do that? No. I'd like to move back to the 20th century and be more advanced than we are now. It's amazing how sad it all is. But Luke, my Micron stock is one of the best performers in my portfolio. I may add a little with the current pullback. Yeah, all the RAM, absolutely crazy. Just checking all my messages. All right. My strategy for storage is to have SSDs for OS and programs and spinners for bulk storage. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing. All right. How much are laptops in Nicaragua on average? Assume that laptops here are going to generally be double whatever they are in the US. So just look up the price in the US, double it, and that's likely what you're going to find here. So we're used to in the US seeing maybe 400 for a starter laptop. You're getting 800, maybe 700 for a starter one here. But the way that it works from a logistics perspective is they're all shipped in from the United States. So people are buying them in the US or similar, paying the same price as you or me because no one's getting them in bulk. No one's getting reseller deals. The store, if you went and saw the stores that are selling them, their volume is the places are so small. And then they're shipping them to Nicaragua. So there's the delay, there's the shipping time, there's the purchase price. So in the U.S., you might purchase that $350 laptop at $320, then getting it into Nicaragua, and then it's going to sit on a shelf for a really long time, right? And so there's all these things that just keep upping the cost, and there's no built-in means of price reduction. So the prices just end up being ridiculously high, unfortunately. So the thing we say is you never even discuss getting a laptop or computer or anything in Nicaragua. That would be completely an emergency. It is a completely nonsensical thing to do. It's just not a place to buy them. So, hold on. Are there inexpensive Chinese laptops? Well, the real thing is there aren't inexpensive Chinese laptops. No matter where you are, try to find an inexpensive Chinese laptop that kind of doesn't exist. China makes premium laptops. I'm not saying 100%, but Lenovo is a very expensive commercial brand. It used to be IBM, right? They bought the IBM and shifted it over. Huawei is a very premium brand. Xiaomi makes stuff, very premium brand. Most of the ones that you're really going to look at, the ones that you're aware of, are very exclusive premium machines. And so they're excellent. I would love to get my hands on a nice Huawei, right? They're fantastic, but the prices are going to be better than they would be in the US, or your market's going to have more availability than you would have in the US. So all of that part is excellent, right? And I guarantee there are low cost Chinese makers, but no one knows their name, and no one is going to try to sell them. So there aren't any stores selling what are essentially off-brand Chinese laptops, the cheap ones. If you do want to get cheap, in most markets, you get Taiwanese. Acer and Asus, specifically, plus Gateway and a few others, make excellent quality, and it's what I buy, right? I have an Acer right here. My kids have Asus. They last forever. The prices are great. Just fantastic, right? So that's generally where you're going to go if you're going to try to get value. But those, we don't have a special deal like with China. So unlike most things, we don't have this big, cheap value in laptops the way that you would other products. Will that change in time? I think that it will. Right? So our high prices from the U.S. and our problems or our new opportunities with China are all pretty new. So things, um, especially computers, lag dramatically. And of course, prices are skyrocketing right now. Like that's what John was just talking about. So because of this, it's just very difficult to get cheap computers here. But what we can do is order them directly from the US and get the same prices as the US. The thing that makes them expensive here is buying them in Nicaragua. If you just ship from the US, then you get the same price as an American gets. Now, if you really want to shop around, there are high quality Chinese products that aren't breaking the bank. The Orange Pi, for example, which is a 12 core, 32 gig RAM ARM64 beast. I know in Bolivia you can order them direct from China for $250, getting them on Amazon $350. Right, that's more than a third markup, more than a 33% markup, just to get them in the U.S. Most of that is tariff, of course, right, tax on the American consumer. But pretty much, if you're getting stuff from China, you're going to be only looking at premium products in that particular space. So it just leaves us with a no, we don't have the super cheap computer hookup that you might expect. But if you do have a supplier and can order direct from China, yeah, you can beat U.S. prices. But nobody is doing that as a, oh, just go order on this website and get this cheap laptop kind of thing. So that is, Discord said you are in a wheelchair. What does that, what? So that sounds like gibberish. Introduced to a local nice couple with similar goals of a low-cost recording studio for Nicaraguans. Great meeting fellow musicians. Awesome. So but the thing is, if you're an expat, laptops are the same everywhere because you just order them from wherever they're cheap. U.S. in most cases. Definitely that will change. And if I'm in Bolivia, I'm going to pick them up there. John Mason Scott, well, his chair has wheels. It's true. I'm rolling. I like that there's like Discord. There's a Discord about me. That's funny. That's like the biggest compliment imaginable. Did you know that Discord has a channel to talk about Scott? That would be something, right? I wish that were true. Not that I was in a wheelchair. That that there was a Discord, that I was so popular that there was a Discord group. I'm looking really quick to see if my old house is still available in Kanyar, because I mentioned it now, and I'm like, ooh, could we go back? So that's Orgava. That is not Kanyar. Where's... There we go. does not look like my old house is there. Maybe. Could be heavily modified in all this time. I got an i7 ThinkPad for $80. This is definitely not my old house, but it's not dissimilar. Hybrid cars in Nicaragua, too early? Well, I've had one for a year. No one to work on them, or are they under warranty so the dealer will be able to handle it? So I've had a hybrid for a year, and because it's new, as most hybrids are, you just go to the dealer. So it's nice and easy. I feel like, there was a nice hybrid that I was looking at the mall. I wasn't it was just sitting in the mall, right? So I took time to look at it while my wife was shopping. But MG, the famous sports car maker, or sporty car maker, or I don't know how you want to look at it. They have a really nice looking hybrid car that was on display in the mall, and that I would really like. I'm sure MG makes some nice stuff. But in general, hybrids are just so they vary, of course, but I don't know what did happen to the used car market. What makes you ask? What don't I know? Hybrids generally have all the same parts as a normal car, just with the extra of a little bit of electric motors and stuff. So generally, anyone can work on them, but there's really aren't hybrids that are old on the market here. So anything you're going to buy is almost certainly going to be under warranty, so you don't care that there are places that work on it or not. Because just like in the US, you'd be going back to a dealer until it's relatively old. Just dealing with a little bit of the begging season. It's the Semana Santa begging season. So the people that normally would not ask you for money are suddenly claiming to be quite ill. That drives me crazy. Oh, lots of messages today. Just busy, busy, busy. So far, this is just a little note from our tiny slice and anecdotal evidence of tourist season. And not that we get a lot of foreign tourists, so this is more of just internal activity that we are likely to see. February is the busiest month we have seen this year, which generally we think of February as quite busy. April is the busiest because of Semana Santa, so right now it's busier than February, but up the but February up until April so far. Busier than March, busier than January, busier than December. But that's kind of the peak of the season, except for April. Right, taking on meters. All right. We got a lot of people on. Well, fair number. What is your choice for virtualization software for Linux, Ubuntu, Debian based? Yeah, Alan is correct. Proxmox. So, I mean, Linux is just, it has virtualization built in. So the actual virtualization is KVM, right? These days, and I was a huge Zen fan for a long time. And if you look at Zen, or XCP-NG, the modern Zen-based virtualization platform, I'm the one that came up with that concept and promoted it and got the vendor to make it. So I'm very dedicated to Zen. I think Zen is a fantastic idea, but KVM just got the market advantage, got out in front, got so much mind share, and made it so easy. And then Proxmox is, for most circumstances, the best packaging of KVM in the real world. It's completely free, fully open source, really well supported. It's built in Austria. They do a really excellent job. Have built-in backups and a bunch of features, so you don't really need to bring anything else to it. And because of how much is built in, and because it's free and open source, it demolishes everything else on the market to the point where, unless you're just really interested in building your own, which is perfectly fine, Proxmox is the obvious answer to everything. It's the only reasonable player because it's free, open source, and the market leader, right, and the tech leader, right, worlds ahead of the complete jokes, which are not, by any reasonable standard, VMware and Microsoft Hyper-V are not production-ready products, right? I've never heard anyone be able to come up with an argument for why they would be deployable. Leaving only Zen and KVM, and because they're both free and really good, there's no reason for there to be additional competitors. In most markets, like software, we assume there's going to be three major players. But in the case of something where two of the two leading players are both free and open source, it tends to eliminate the reasonable possibility of a third place. Whereas if one or both of your first place, of your top places, are closed source or not free, or both, then you tend to have that third that squeaks in simply because it's an alternative that is both free and open. But virtualization is just one of those spaces where there's no serious closed, paid for, or closed and free competitor. There's not even anyone trying. Right? VMware is so bad, right? Like it's unfathomable that people would work with those products. And VMware has no valid deployment of their product. Microsoft gave up on theirs and took all of their, they had a time where they were making a decent product. It was never up to par, but it was trying to get to competitive. And with their deep pockets, you would think they would get there. But they also realized there's no money in the market. The stupid rich are not people who worry about virtualization. And so making a product that isn't as fast, isn't as efficient, isn't as easy, isn't as stable, isn't as supported, they had literally 0 points. Every reason that people would choose it: price, support, quality, features. They didn't have any of them. And so it was such a lift for them to get to a viable product that they just gave up and took away viable deployments and left people with completely silly things. So for people who are completely ridiculous, you're able to keep deploying it, but it's pretty silly. So Oracle VirtualBox is a Type 2 hypervisor. So it's in a similar position where VirtualBox is so good that if you need a Type 2 hypervisor, which is a completely valid thing, right? Especially as a developer, you would use that. Then because again, VirtualBox is free and open source and really good, right? And so it did have some competitors, but its only competitor was also from VMware, and very long time ago, it destroyed that, right? VMware had to make it for free. VMware stopped making it. Like, why bother? VirtualBox was unlike traditional virtualization, type 1 virtualization, enterprise virtualization. There's very little need for competitiveness in the type 2 hypervisor world. And so VirtualBox, just because it met all those requirements, right? It killed off the possibility of there being alternatives. Nobody would ever consider an alternative. So it's a good product, but it's very niche. I haven't run into anyone caring to run that in, I bet, over a decade. But if you did need type 2 virtualization for some reason, it's what you would do. But generally, you want type 1 for real world stuff. Alan says, yeah, if I knew what was going to happen with green cards, if we were stuck here for a few years, maybe worth getting a car. If Trump changes his mind, lol, and we get a green card, then no. What's your choice for virtualization for Linux? I should mention Proxmox, as Alan said. Proxmox is Debian based. We didn't actually say that, but that did meet that requirement. I don't know why that's a requirement, but it is Debian under the current one is Debian 13. Why bother with virtualization when AI can do anything? I'm unclear how the two relate. I don't know. All right. Just gonna check all my messages and different machines while we're waiting for people to chat. I have so many remote sessions and stuff open. I've been playing with some new oh, is this finally doing something? Why is it asking that? Cool. You can write your own. Virtualization is not something you can casually write. I mean, you can, but if it takes more than 2 minutes to have all the features, because remember, free, open source, supported, tested, unless you can do it in 2 minutes, right? I can't open an IDE to talk to an AI as fast as I can have Proxmox downloading, right? And so could you write your own? Yeah, I mean, my company wrote its own virtualization in the 90s, right? So it can be done for sure, but can it be done as well as something like that? It really can't, right? Like, it's interesting. If you want to have your own, you want to do it as an experiment, like, that's some freaking cool stuff, right? Like, I want to make, but even if you were writing your own, and it was freaking cool, and it was really, really well done, KVM has the advantage of being built into the kernel, and Zen has the advantage of not being built into the kernel. If you want the KVM style, which I'm not saying you should, that's why I like Zen, then writing your own is essentially non-viable, because you could, but you'd have to write it in C, not C++, which of course you can do, and then you'd have to compile it into the Linux kernel. You're getting into, yeah, you can do it, but you're getting into some wacky ground. Now, if you're going to try to compete with Zen and build it that way, where it's a layer set apart, it's its own kernel, then you could do it more easily with AI. I think it's a bigger lift than you imagine. I have not tried it. I would be very interested to see if someone is able to pull off a viable kernel written in AI. That would be impressive, right? Oh, John says, a friend has convinced himself he needs Windows to play games. He really doesn't do any gaming to speak of now. I found him a great computer, a Xeon-based 2x CPU, 64 gigs of RAM. I write games in C++ on Linux, and AI helps with that a lot. Writing games, yeah, I use AI. I have 3 AIs running right now, writing code, right? This one is, I don't even remember. So if I remember what's where, this is, I'm actually using Kimmy. writing Go code. Over here, I've got I think SWE writing Go code as well, and back behind me, I have Codex writing Rust code, right? So I do it all the time. Did you ever get one of the modern Commodore 64s? I did not. I decided I just couldn't afford the money, or I couldn't justify the money. Like, I could come up with enough to get a little silly thing, but Ellen says, you've lost your base audience, switch out of IT mode. Yeah, I wish I had one, but the reality is they're not. I mean, I have original Commodore 64s, so having a new one to power up and play with is cool. But like, I already don't want to. Like, what am I gonna plug it into? Yeah, I mean, it's just no. It would be cool, but there's probably easier ways to do something really cool in that general vibe. But it would be cool. Was this still running? Holy cow! Speaking of all my AI running, how long have we been on the show? Because I kicked this one command off before we got on the show. So 41 minutes. I always wonder, like, how long do things run? Because it's like, oh, it only takes a few minutes. No, but I'm getting a sandwich. I go get a drink, chat with somebody, do some other task, write something, check something. You forget that sometimes, like, it's common for this command to be running for an hour, and I just haven't thought about it. Let me see. Yeah, 41 minutes. 42 minutes now. So what do you guys got planned for Easter? What's everybody going to be doing? Don't forget to hit the like button. Oh, thanks, Dad. My dad would like everyone to know to please like his son's live stream. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Scott Allen Miller. If you're looking for a fun card game when you're traveling, now this is an old card game, but we've never played it before. Old, like a decade. But we've been my kids started playing Exploding Kittens. We got it for them for Christmas. My kids had complained that they really don't have that many card games. Like, we have a lot of video games, like tons, and we love playing video games together, and we spend a lot of time doing that stuff, but we also really enjoy sitting around a table and playing. But most board games, my kids are kind of like, yeah, we just want to do this thing. But I detest average board games. Right. Some things I love, right? Trivial Pursuit, Pictionary, Taboo, things where you're really engaged and really playing. Yeah, I like that stuff. But and Clue, I like Clue. But if you give me, like, Chutes and Ladders, Monopoly, they're just rolling dice, moving things. Like, it's all mechanics. Like, there's no gameplay. There's no strategy. There's no getting into it. There's no playing, right? You're just doing tasks. It's homework, right? And menial homework. It's to me, playing those kinds of board games is the same as being told you have to write "I will not play fun games" 100 times during detention, right? Because it's just menial tasks repetitively until you're annoyed and put it away. But when it's a real game, I do really enjoy it. And so we've been trying to find some things, and it occurred to us that we could go to Managua because we like to go and spend a few days. And what typically happens is we go out, we go to dinner, and Managua stays open later than Leon, but it doesn't stay open the way we like Spain and Italy. So by 10 o'clock at night, we're back home. And And then we're at home, and then it's like, well, the kids are just going to watch something on their iPads, or I'm going to set up my laptop and get some work done before I go to sleep. And so our late nights have a tendency to kind of deteriorate into just doing what we would do at home. But at home, we don't have a nice indoor air conditioned dining room. And we do when we stay at least the apartment in Managua. The apartment we stayed at a few months ago had a big open space and a dining room in the middle, and this one had this really cute little dining room in the back of the apartment. And so we sat up and we got Exploding Kittens, and it was still in the shrink wrap. Got the shrink wrap off, learned how to play, and my wife played too. And the four of us played Exploding Kittens, which is kind of like an advanced Uno, right? It definitely has Uno-like mechanics that you go around and you're trying to kill each other. But it's got a lot more strategy to it, a lot more moving pieces, and it's a little bit more adventurous. It was really nice. It was a lot of fun. The kids really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It was nice to be able to hang out. And so we've decided that so we got to find good ones, right? You can't just be like, we're going to bring any board game, but finding a collection of ones we like. We like the Poetry for Neanderthals is fun. Clue can be fun a little bit. Only can play like twice before they get tired of it. This Exploding Kittens, I'm ordering the expansion packs to Exploding Kittens, which includes I can't remember what Another Kitten Bites the Dust, I think, and Imploding Kittens are the expansions. So those have already been ordered, and I don't know when they'll get here, but eventually we're going to have those. So we're finding that these things are really good. Plus, my kids play Dungeons and Dragons. We didn't really think about that would work really well while traveling. So I think the next time we travel, we'll bring enough stuff to do D&D with us, because my kids and I do our own campaign separate from any groups that we're in, so that we can just play. I think that would be really good. But so this is kind of a new discovery for us, and I know someone's going to be like, you just discovered that traveling and taking board games is fun. That's kind of a trope, and it is. But because we go and do this, like this type of travel is not a thing that we've done a lot in the past. Because normally we do like really big travel, and board games just aren't a thing that we really got into that much. Kind of figuring out that we could just have a to-go box, throw it in the car, have like 10 board games in it, and we're starting to find some good ones that we really enjoy. Having that all ready to go can make it that much more fun when you have an apartment, because normally we're in a hotel and there isn't a good space for this. You could do it, right? You could go into the lobby of the hotel and do it. Like, you could make it work, but it's like a lot of work, right? Whereas this, now that we're getting apartments in Managua, it's like we have a dining room table, which we don't have at home, and it's just super comfortable. We can just do it. And so we kind of figured this new thing out. So we're kind of excited about that. That's more a story for my dad than for everyone else. But the other thing I was going to say is we're like, well, we've got these shows that we've been watching, and so we couldn't get our movie system from home to work where we were, not because we didn't have it would work on the iPad, it worked on my phone, it worked on my laptop, but we couldn't get it to work on the TV. And one of the reasons is we couldn't Chromecast, because the TVs are plugged in there, which is fantastic. It works so much better. They're not on wireless, but you weren't on the same network with them, so you can't just throw shows to them. So you got to come up with a way to get a show to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start traveling with these Raspberry Pi, and this will connect to my movie system at home, and we can just hook up and watch movies in the hotel really easily. And really, that also worked out for us. Again, when we're in a hotel room, the TVs are, if there even is a TV, is super uncomfortable, like you're sitting on a bed or whatever. But when we get an apartment, we have a living room with couches and nice chairs and plenty of space. And so my kids and we played these board games, and then they're like, let's keep going on the show that we're binging, Mako Mermaids. And so we did, and we had a really nice time watching that there. Like, the whole thing worked out. We figured more of this out, and we figured out as well that we like to get takeout food, because we want more food than there's time for during the day, but we always want to eat long after everything is closed. So doing something like getting Papa John's takeout, keeping it at the apartment, and then playing board games into the night, then putting on some movies and going late at night actually works really, really well. So we figured out some cool things just for our own little travel life. Luke says, nice thing about living away from Managua, I am actually looking forward to my quick May trip to reapply for residency, staying at the Crown Plaza for the night, and revisiting Tonelli's for dinner. It's true. I wonder how much I would be tired of Managua if I lived there. No, I'd probably really like it. If I could live in Las Colinas, I think I would prefer that to here. But I like our crowd here. But I really do like Managua. But it is really nice when we go into Managua and having like that, oh yeah, we get to enjoy Managua. I wonder how often we would ever leave Managua if we lived there. We'd be like, nah, we got everything here, why bother? My dad is having dinner with my aunt and uncle at Leisure's for Easter, which is cool because my wife used to work at Leisure's. Justin says, if I make it to Leon, we have to set up La Bataille de Moscova. Cool. John says, Luke, if memory serves, you were a tobacconist. Have you visited the cigar companies in Esteli? He says, made my first visit to Esteli with Bertamo Cigars in 2010. He says, nice. Luke says, old-time friends at Don Pepin Garcia, Padron, Joya de Nicaragua, Perdomo, and Drew Estates. He knows everybody in the tobacco space. Right. Checking all the things I have running everywhere because I have a lot of stuff running. Well, this is good, getting some actual work done in the background while we're doing the show. JG just sent me a the the board game. Oh, the one that was mentioned in the chat. It's Game Designers Workshop. Yeah, I've never played that one. That is probably a bit too involved for my kids. They would get exhausted with that. That's a bit more of a war game, I think, than a traditional board game. Although I am looking at some of these that popped up. Leader Games makes Root, which my kids are really interested in. Now, we want to play Root, the role-playing game, but Root, the board game, should be cool as well. Now, Ahoy, I'm just looking at this. A game of seafaring and smuggling for 2 to 4 players. You are swashbucklers and soldiers on the high seas. Each round, you roll and place dice to take the unique actions of your faction. As you control regions and deliver cargo, you'll gain fame. The player with the most fame wins. One player is the Bluefish Squadron, a company of sharks and their toothy friends who keep order with shot and sword. Another player is the Mollusk Union, an alliance of undersea creatures and their comrades who fight to reclaim their ancestral home. With more people, some players are smugglers, maverick captains who run blockades to deliver cargo to those of the most need, or coin. Leader game does make some cute looking stuff. It could be fun. My kids do like pirate games. But Root looks really good. But I wonder how Root the board game compares to Root the RPG. That's right. I'm gonna post Root for everyone, so you're like, what is he talking about? Luke says, "Donde está mi pizza?" So this is Root, which I probably should get. 2 to 4 players, game an hour to an hour and a half. That's kind of perfect. Age is 14 plus. My youngest is only 14. She'll be like barely old enough to play. Okay, that's interesting. Now, what is Fort? Oh, card game. How much is a slice of pizza there? So, I have never found of edible pizza a slice being sold. Slices are not something sold in much of the world. That is very popular with New York City. Less popular, but still common in upstate New York. But as you get away from the Northeast, it actually drops off pretty quickly. Obviously, lots of the U.S. still has by the slice. I'm not saying they don't, but if you think about like Pizza Hut, they don't sell by the slice. Domino's doesn't sell by the slice. Papa John's doesn't sell by the slice. So pizza chains in the U.S. have given up on slices. It's really the local places, and I don't think I've seen a place doing by the slice here until this past weekend. But the only thing they were selling by the slice, so one, they priced it by the slice but didn't offer it, and two, we did buy a pie and it was inedible and we threw it out. I took one bite, my daughter took one bite, my wife took one bite, and we just threw it out as absolutely worthless. So, unfortunately, slice is not a thing here. Luke says, haven't purchased by the slice, but total meal delivery is pretty cheap. That's part of it, that whole pies are not that expensive. So, and volume is low. So it's very hard for a place to deal with slices. For JG, just going to comment. Did anyone notice that Luke Gygax rejoined Wizards of the Coast this past week? Which is quite interesting. We don't have a ton of people on tonight, but we have a solid group. And it just feels early. Does it feel like, am I crazy? Why does it feel so early? Expat, am I moving to something or running away from something? About your pizza? Are you running away from bad pizza? Honestly, you're not running to good pizza if you're coming here, sadly. Pizza is one of the things we struggle with here a lot. And it makes me very sad because I love pizza. It is my favorite food. I grew up in the pizza zone. I've lived in Italy, and that wasn't up to par. It would be very nice to have amazing pizza here. And definitely need to figure it out because we have a pizza oven, and it would be really nice if we were using that and making great pizza. But it's hard getting ingredients down here in the heat. How easy is it to build a new social support network? Whichever embrace the new customs and culture, learn the language. Whichever, comma, embrace the new customs and culture, learn the language. Expat says, how easy is it to build a new social support network? Honestly, I think it was pretty easy for us. Moving to a new place is always going to have some challenges, right? You don't bring your social support network with you, so you're always going to have some amount of work there, right? It's not going to be magic. But, at least in our experience, we found it to be very easy, and made lots of friends here, lots of connections, lots of being a part of our community. If anything, in my experience, which is very anecdotal, so be careful with that. But my personal experience really seems to be that it was far easier to make a social support network here than back home, right? Of course, I had a really good support network at home where I was actually from, but that's because I grew up there, right? It's when when I moved to Texas, it took a really long time, a number of years before we really had a good support network in Texas, even though a lot of people moved with me at the time because I moved for work, so we brought a huge number of people. So I did have some connections, but I wasn't like super close, as you often are, with a lot of your coworkers. But we all moved across the country, so we had that going for us. But I would say, our first year, probably in when we moved to Texas, this is my wife and I, before we had kids, we probably made it a year without really establishing any local friends. I had one local friend that was a friend before I got there, and that's really cheating. And that's, I don't know where he is, but Brian Watson, who's on the show quite often, we didn't become friends because we lived in the same city. We had gone to conferences together, hung out, been to all kinds of places. When I moved to Texas, I think he was already dating a friend of mine from New York that he had met through me. Like, we had years of knowing each other, and he had already worked for me at that point that we moved. And so that was a huge advantage that we had someone local that we were already close with at the time that we moved. But he was really the only one. But getting more people that were part of our social network really took quite some time. I would say it was probably a year and a half to 2 years before we really had anybody, and those very first people were work people, right? And so moving to a new country, a completely new country, not just to a new region, and not doing it where you have an office moving with you, and not knowing anyone before you get here, right? Not having established friends that you're just moving down the street from, is all much harder. But I think what we found here is we were starting to really have a social network, a small one, a starter one, at 6 months, right? And so I feel like it was at a huge disadvantage compared to our experiences in different parts of the U.S. And yet, even with those big disadvantages, I feel like it moved much faster. But that's very anecdotal, right? Maybe something about us caused places we moved in the U.S. to be slower, and something about us caused the situation here to be faster. Maybe it's completely random and it didn't have to do with anything in particular. Those are all valid possibilities, right? So I'm not saying that I would expect that to be recurring for you, but I think that there's it feels as though that is generally true. And part of it is being in a new country, you're looking for a social network in a way that you may not somewhere else. And being a foreign person here, an expat here, I think more people are more likely to be supportive. It's easier to make connections because you're not just when you're a New Yorker and you move to Texas, no one's like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. I have a New Yorker friend. Like, they're so interesting because their lives are so much. No, nobody cares, right? Why would they? That doesn't make sense. You're just far enough away to be annoying, not far enough away to be interesting. But when you move from the U.S. to Nicaragua, you go over that gap, and suddenly you're foreign enough to be at least a point of interest, which makes it really easy to meet lots of people, which makes it really easy to find the right people to start a social network. So that's my feeling on it. I don't think it's something that you'll struggle with much at all. John says, an expat in southern Ecuador was saying the tomatoes there were awful. I found that rather surprising. Tomatoes in Ecuador were awful. That does sound surprising. I wonder why that is. Was there other people saying the same thing, or was that just this one guy who really didn't like the tomatoes there? I mean, the U.S. does kind of have good tomatoes, right? The U.S. Midwest is kind of tomato zone, I suppose. Tomatoes come from Mexico, I think, as they're kind of their natural habitat. Maybe it's just really good up here, but why would Ecuador be bad with tomatoes? I don't know. I'm not a tomato farmer. I've grown tomatoes in the garden, but that does feel surprising for sure. If I end up in Ecuador, I will try the tomatoes and report back. Has anyone here had Ecuadorian tomatoes to report on the quality of the tomatoes? Well, I always pay double just because I have an accent. No. So, no, John says just him. So the gringo pricing here is so when you're looking at houses, yes, more or less. But honestly, we don't have that problem because we've been here for so long that people know that they can't do that, right? Like if you tell me double the price on something, I'm just going to walk away and never do business with you, and that's going to be the end of it. So that's a lost customer. People who know us to any degree know not to pull that kind of thing with us. So so we don't find that too often. We definitely find it some. And what happened? Hold on. And then, for food, restaurants normally have set prices. You're not negotiating prices. Most stores have set prices. If you're going into the market and you're trying to negotiate, you'll be at a disadvantage for sure. But if you're going into normal stores with like price tags, they're not going to change because of that. So the majority of what you do in life is not going to be subject to that gringo pricing mechanism. It will exist. There will be times that you will pay extra, but it's going to be pretty minor. You're not going to notice it on a day-to-day basis in any way. He does live in a very small town in El Oriente. Oh, maybe he just doesn't have a good tomato supplier. I mean, anywhere could have bad tomato supply. But Ecuador itself, pretty big country with a large array of weather. So it seems like somewhere there can produce a whole bunch of tomatoes for everybody who wants them. Or maybe there's just a tomato epidemic down there. Potatoes should be very good there. You guys are too quiet. Our chat rate is 0. That means you're not talking enough. That chat rate should be 2. Like small numbers. I feel like they should come up with a way to make those numbers bigger. Maybe put in a decimal so that you can watch it moving from time to time. I don't have any particular topics for tonight, so need. Does the local grocery store carry mystery meat? I don't eat meat, so it's all mystery to me. I mean, meat is pretty big here, so you can get. I mean, do you mean hamburger? I just watching the news. The U.S. is talking about going into fuel rationing. Nicaragua has not yet had to raise its cost of fuel. That's it's dramatic how different that is. So many people asking how we've been affected by the fuel thing, and for us, it's like there's not even anything going on. We're so isolated from it. If the price seems high, walk away and see if the price drops. My thing is, if the price seems high, I just walk away. Like, I don't give those people business in most cases, which may not be the most cost effective thing, but it gets the point across, and I just don't want to have to deal with it. How to handle the unspoken social rules. I think people. I don't know how many there are, because no one ever tells me. There's a joke in there somewhere. No, for the most part, people are pretty good about telling you about social rules. The hardest thing is that we come from, and this is not good, bad, here or there. It's just we come from very different social rules than here. And so they're in the same boat of they don't know what our social rules are, so they don't always know what to tell us. about social rules to be like, oh, this is different than what you know. They don't know. They know what their social rules are. They don't know what ours are to do a comparison. And so that can be a little bit challenging simply because of that. But in general, you're going to have folks here who are very happy to inform you as to social rules, help you with that, and it's not a big deal. And this is a Latin country, right? We're not in a weird, exotic locale. So most anything that has any weight, right? Of course, there's going to be things that are like, oh, did you know that Nicaraguans do, they point like this. Not all Latinos do that, right? That's not universal, but it is not uncommon. And so because of that, there's little things like that you may have to learn over time. But mostly, people are going to be totally happy just filling you in with stuff as long as they know about it. As long as they're able to recognize that there is a thing to tell you about. And so I don't think you'll find that that there's a whole bunch of social rules that you need to know. There's going to be these little tiny things, but not a big thing because, the entire southern half of the U.S. follows similar social cues. La pizza llegado. I think it's also important, this is John, to not be a dick thinking you are always getting gringoed. Shop with a local friend. You will, yeah, and it's important to balance it, right? Understand you will get gringoed. It is going to happen. Some of the time you gringo yourself, meaning if I go into the market and I need to buy mangoes, right? I don't know what mangoes cost. So I'm not going to be able to negotiate well. So treating me like a Nicaraguan will make me pay higher prices because I'm a terrible negotiator. Both the average Nicaraguan knows far more about the prices than I do, so they're able to negotiate better. And they're better skilled, better practiced at negotiating than I am. So I lack both the skill and the knowledge in many cases. So for me, it's easy for me to gringo price myself just because of my own lack of skill or lack of experience. But I know that, right? And in those cases, all I do is dislike market shopping, right? I don't like it anywhere in the world because I like the idea that everyone pays the same price. I don't want pricing to be based on a skill of one particular thing, right? The skill of negotiating your prices. Or someone, and this is the thing that they hate now that's happening in the United States is demand-based pricing, right? All these new mechanisms to figure out who you are and to gauge how much you'd be willing to pay for something, and then raising the price for you and not for the person next to you. And that's what the rest of the world has always done, right? Negotiated price is demand price, right? So this thing that Americans are horrified by maybe is going to happen to them is actually how the world lives. And I agree, it's a terrible thing. I don't think that a little old lady should be charged more than someone else just because she doesn't have the energy or the stamina or the ability to withstand waiting in the sun while you wear her down and don't give her a good price. Right? So what are her choices? Cook in the sun, wait really long, or just give up and pay more. That's not cool, right? Is it fair? Sure, but fair is a bad thing, right? I don't want the world to be fair. I want it to be equitable. And it's a horrible situation when because it doesn't just start. It starts with who's bad at it, but then it also becomes all the people who offer a product then can be like, oh, and these are people we don't like, and then that becomes a problem too. And if it's I don't like them because they're jerks, that's not so bad. But if I don't like them because their accent or where they're from or what I perceive about them or their gender or whatever, suddenly it becomes a a terrible situation. And so this is one thing that I like about traditional, but not current, U.S. custom is the commonality of set prices and everyone pays the same. But it's not that simple. So, someone told Nika's children not to point with their fingers, so they use their nose. It's not their nose, it's their mouth. This is how you point behind you. That's an actual thing. Yummy is the next. Jimmy, dang it, I've been working. Do I have any Discord followers too? Ron says, Nika's right, one like the number 7. Oh, that's true. They write ones like 7s. Gringos write the number 1 like this. Yes, I find it very hard because we're used to 7 being. I'm used to other Americans doing 7. Boom, boom. Well, I guess for you guys, boom. I can't tell which way the camera goes once it actually gets to you. I always do a German cross on the 7 because it makes it clear that it's a 7. And I just thought it was cool. I started doing that long ago, so my 7s are clear, and my 1 is just a line. So people, they're like small L. Here, a 1 is this big thing that looks a lot more like an A. But when you know it's a number, you feel like it's a 7. So that's a tough one. Yeah, I forget, Ron, that that is really a thing, that they write their numbers slightly different than we do, to a confusing degree. For dinner tonight, my daughter has started going through online recipes and finding things that might be interesting. And tonight we did fried egg and grilled corn tacos. That was different. Not sure that's going to make the regular rotation, but they were not bad, and it was definitely interesting. I feel like mine had a lot of cheese in it, and I don't know if that was part of the original recipe or something that our cook decided I needed cheese. I do like cheese. So, holy cow. Am I ready for a chicken bus commute? The chicken buses are a bit much to do all the time. I don't mind doing them, but I wouldn't want to do them all the time. But I do the Uka buses all the time, and I find them very comfortable and easy to use. True about not pointing with the finger since little, always been taught not to. Yeah, people really don't point with fingers here. It's very surprising. And the pointing with the mouth is weird. Americans are much more likely to use their eyes, or like however you do this, like over there. Or there. I guess it's eyebrows, but we like look and move our eyebrows, and they just move their mouth. And we're really used to this eye movement thing, so I find it very strange that trying to read the mouth thing so quickly. It's kind of like, what did I just see? What was that mouth movement thing? Oh, they're pointing. John says, what might take getting used to is not flushing toilet paper. That does take... However, for those of us who lived in Europe and stuff, it's normal, right? So I did not get used to that in Nicaragua. It's just a thing that I had to do here. But it's having lived around the world, that is more common than not. So a lot of people don't get caught by that one. Is there a lack of fans when the grid decides it needs a 2-hour nap and 95-degree heat? Is there a lack of fans? So typically the grid does not go down in heat. The grid goes down... We never lose the grid, right? That's an American thing. Here we lose power because of storms or accidents. So they tend to go down when things are cool. But we all have, when you live here, it's like, it would not occur to me that we need fans or anything, because I don't use a fan all day. Now, I am in air conditioning, but I'm in air conditioning because of the show, not because it's so warm out. So for the expats who just got here, power outages scare them with the heat. But for those of us who live here, it's pretty rare. That we're really affected by the heat in dramatic ways. Like, I'm a big guy from the cold north, and I've always been very affected by heat, and here it's really not a big thing. You really do get used to it pretty quickly. So, no, it really isn't a problem. And Nicaraguans don't have this big power draw because of the heat going up, right? It's not just that our grid doesn't have those kinds of problems. It's also that locals don't use power in that way when it's hot. Does it cause refrigerators and freezers to work harder? Of course it does. Do fans get turned off because it's hot? No, of course they don't, right? They stay on a little bit longer. A few more get used. Swamp coolers get turned on. And yes, some people turn on air conditioners. So the power does go up on the grid during those times, but it's not it's not like you'd imagine. It's not like in the US where the power just doubles, triples as that temperature goes up, which we're used to. Siestas under an hour are a beautiful and useful thing. I do like when I get a chance to take a siesta. And a lot of shops close here in the mid-afternoon, so it is a thing. Siesta culture, actually, it's not huge here, but it does carry over from Europe. We do still have it, which is interesting, for sure. Having lived in Spain and having everyone actually siesta, is weird. It's so extreme. Here, a few people do it, but businesses tend to close. But in Spain, everything closes, including like restaurants that should just be opening up for us, yet under normal circumstances, are like, what? We would never be open during this 5-hour window. And you're like, what? This is crazy. everybody's quiet again. We do have lots of people on. 24 people on. Not bad. Please remember to give a thumbs up. We need someone with new topics. We haven't had a lot of new people in a while, so a lot of us have, we talk every week, which is great. It's awesome, but it's also, we talk every week, right? So it's like we don't have tons of questions and things. When dating, do dates show up on time? Well, that depends. Is it your definition of on time or is it theirs? Nicaraguans have their own definition of what on time means. And almost all of Latin America has that. And so they show up on time generally for what they think is on time. Like if we agree on 7 p.m. is the reality 8:45. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, people do not show up at the time stated. They show up at the time you're supposed to understand is the time. I type more, but it ain't all about me. It's all about you, Luke. It's true. Oh, so I just had to do, so we just did our passports on Tuesday. And we were in and out so fast at the embassy. That was great. But it takes 5 to 6 weeks right now to get our passports back. So stuck for a while waiting on that. Still have quite a bit of a cough. If anything, it feels like it's coming back. Tim says, where would I find the beginning of the new coastal highway in the north? Is it finished all the way to San Juan del Sur? So it goes past San Juan del Sur to the south. I don't think anyone knows where the north end is. I saw some of it at La Boquita, but that's the closest I've seen, which is very far south. It's still in the north. It's not in the south, but we don't have anything anywhere remotely close to us up here. To us, it really feels like a tourist thing for Rivas. We know that it's in Carazo, but when I was in Carazo, it was also completely unused. Didn't see a single car on it. And it didn't go anywhere useful. Just goes through the wilderness, right, just a little ways away from the beach road that's full of beach stuff. So it's like, what is this for? So we'll see. We're really not too convinced it's going to come through up here because there's like nowhere to put it and nowhere for it to go. So we're all like, what function is it going to have? It seems just so unlikely that it's going to end up actually coming through up here. Is it really going to do that? Sorry, the cough is hard. How can I navigate Leon where the streets have no names? So the streets all have names, and they're all very clearly labeled. None of that is true. That is completely false stuff that people just say. As you go down the streets, right? There's big plaques on the side. Well, not big. Sorry, there are small plaques on the side of buildings in tile. They say First Avenue North, Second Avenue North, Third Avenue North, First Avenue South, Ruben Dar Rio, the main drag. Every highway has a number. Nicaragua 14, right? Every city street has a street number, a northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, whatever. Major roads like Ruben Del Rio have a name. Everything's labeled, right? Often houses have house numbers, right? If you look at older houses, they'll say, 2318 North 5th Street, right? Everywhere. People will be like, my house has no number. I'm like, it's right there above your door. I don't see it. It's right there above your door. Nope, can't see it, right? They have to look away and lie to say that there aren't these things. But that's a cultural thing. They will do that right to your face as you're standing by the street sign. They will claim it doesn't exist, but they do. Now, do you use those? No. Can everyone use them? Of course they can. Will they? No. Everyone is conditioned to simply ignore or flat out lie about any request to go to a place based on an address. So the issue is you can navigate no problem. And this is routine. Essentially, every foreigner can navigate Nicaragua trivially. and almost no Nicas can. So this is a very strange situation. And people say it to me all the time. Nicaraguans will be like, "How do you get around this city so easily? I don't know anyone who can get around." And I'm like, "I don't understand. It's a grid. Every street is clearly labeled. They are all numeric in order. They're super easy. Your cardinal point, the city sits on a northeast grid, so that's super easy. Like it is super, super, super easy. And if you still don't like that incredibly simple system, there's also the spiraling church system, whereas it's every set of streets as you go out has a different church that is visible. So basically, no matter what you do, as long as you're somewhere near the middle of the city, there's always a church within sight. And the church that you can see tells you where you are. And so if you go one block north, you see one church. If you go one block farther west, you see a different church. And so you can coordinate, or you can triangulate. That's not really what you're doing, but you can essentially triangulate based on the visible church, and it goes out in this spiral in this really interesting way. So navigation is not a problem for you. And if you're like most North Americans, you have Google Maps, Apple Maps, stuff like that. Those just work, right? And it's super easy. The one thing that they don't have is brand new roads or one-ways. Those are often wrong. So if you want to use a map like that, everything is just so easy. So the challenges come in if you're trying to tell a Nicaraguan how to get somewhere. They won't accept simple directions. They will require obtuse, inaccurate directions. And a great example is Teamea, or Casa Esmeralda, in Las Piñitas. All of the directions to her house are completely wrong directions. They say from this landmark, so many meters in this direction. And she is neither that distance nor that direction from that landmark. And yet that's what people use, because the reality is they're not using that system. Either people know where something is or they don't, and that's about it. All of those, so many quadras, so many varas, so many meters, this direction, that direction, they act like this is a standard system, but most Nicaraguans don't know how to use it. And I actually have to write these directions for Nicaraguans all the time. They'll be like, I'm here, what's my directions from there? And I have to write arriba, abajo, so many meters, so many quadras, because they don't know how to use the system that they're using. Now, maybe that's anecdotal. I understand that that's possible, but my experience with that is pretty universal, that each of the aspects of the system are their maps. Yes, but only foreigners use them. Are there street labels? Yes, but only foreigners use them. Is there digital mappage that you can use with GPS? Yes, but only foreigners use it in large quantity. That one, like Waze, people use, but like Google Maps, they don't. Can you figure out how to use the old-fashioned system? Nobody can completely, but those who figure it out mostly are foreigners, because we still know the cardinal directions, we still know the distances, we still understand what they're trying to say, and most Nicaraguans are just ignoring all of that. They've been conditioned to ignore the maps, to ignore GPS, to not discuss directions, and that ends up carrying on to not understanding this other system that we often think has replaced it, but has not in many cases. And I've had the situation: restaurants give directions, you give it to it, they're like, everyone knows how to get here. Taxi after taxi after taxi. It's like, that's not a real thing. No, that's a landmark that doesn't exist, and we can't find that. We've never heard of that place. Luke says, showing up at the house on time means you get to meet the parents, kids, siblings, and cousins. So I don't have to tell the taxi driver 2 blocks down from where the big Guanacaste tree used to be before the lightning hit it. No, right? Like, those aren't the actual kinds of directions that anyone has ever given. Those things get written on your cedula, but they aren't used in any real capacity. Larry says, just jumped on, you're like a fresh breath there. Is it true, huge party at the Scott L. Miller Estate Sunday for all members? We do not celebrate Easter here. Well, that's not true. We're actually going to do eat candy for the kids, but That's about it. Um, it's it's an interesting. That makes this Easter Sunday will be 33 years since I became. It's funny that I know the day. A newspaper cover photographer. Because it was an Easter photo shoot is what got me to the cover. Good night, Dad. Love you. Is it true? Luke says lensatic compass, known magnetic declination, and a 10-digit grid coordinate, and I'm good. It really is easy to navigate, and the country's not very big. But most Nicaraguans don't travel very much. And so the concept of needing to give directions to things is actually incredibly rare. Obviously, some Nicaraguans need it all the time. But most Nicaraguans actually don't have to do those things. And so even things that you would think would be really simple, like just giving normal driving directions, turn right here, turn left there, even that can be quite challenging because they're not used to doing it. They're more used to doing it, right? But there's so much slang and so much very loose directions, like here, right, or siempre, and you're like, straight is always like, yeah. If you learn that, you learn it, and then that is fine. But there's so often like this slight veer or a hard right. They don't say any of those things. They just say there, and they don't say right, left. They don't time it. Like, it's very imprecise. Even when it's turn left right here, you don't normally get it. Larry says happy Passover. Just JG says any recommendations for a place to stay in Leon for about a week. So these are always tough. Simply because what are you looking for as a place to stay, right? One person wants to stay at the most luxurious place. The next person wants to stay in a tent and everything in between. Some people require a pool. Some people require air conditioning. Some people want a hostel. Some people want shared space, private space. What is it you're looking for? And then we can probably give a recommendation within that scope. Just JG, let us know about where it is you might want to stay. What kind of staying? Let me find this place. Oh, there we go. The Florida Sarda. I've stayed here a number of times. This is a more expensive place, but it's not crazy. This is a place that I like in Leon. It's nothing. It's nothing wild, but they do a really nice job. They have. Last I knew, they had good breakfast. Um, they have, a nice pool, nice gardens. It's a comfortable place with air conditioning. Uh, Happy with it. It's not huge, and it's not super cheap, but it's way under $100. $100 in Cordoba is 3,700, and this is like 29.56 on Booking. So it's way over $50, but it's not terrible, and it's a little bit north, but not much. It's pretty walkable to things downtown. So that's one that I know and have actually used. Have you ever seen a 3-foot iguana there? I'm not sure I've seen a 3-foot iguana, but I mean, so we get Gorabano, or however it's pronounced, the black iguana, which is not a true iguana. But they're pretty big. They're look like an iguana, a little bit darker, and they eat fruit. And those we have all over the house, right? Like my house is covered in nearly 3-foot iguanas. They run through the house. Marcella had one in her house the other day. They definitely have. They're everywhere, right? If I walk in the back, they're up in the palm trees and they go skittering. So iguanas are very, very common here. They're just everywhere. We also have basilisks, which I love. They're the coolest. We had one that lived in our toilet for a long time. We also had a frog that lived in the sink. They get weird here. The things that live in your bathrooms are really funny. The basilisks like to swim through the pipes and pop up in different toilets around the house. He did that for like a week. I wasn't here. I can't remember where I was. I think Dominica and I were traveling somewhere. Oh, I think we were in Argentina. And the kids were here, and they kept being like, "There's a basilisk in our toilet." It would pop up. They'd go use a different bathroom, and it would pop up there, and so it was a constant problem. Clean Central, my first time in Leon. I really like the Florida Sarda. They're good. Los Balcones is nice. Let's see if I can find that one. Speaking of Marcella, how's her health coming along? Overall, she's doing pretty well. She's got some stuff that has come up. She has the fibroid, which really sucks in her chest. Oh my gosh, the El Convento is actually cheaper than Florida Sarda, so that's worth. Oh, of course, I can't send a link. Hold on. Gotta be an easier way to get a link. Or you could say a via for $10. But overall, her health has been doing quite well. She's really been recovering. She had the same. We think it's COVID that we had. That I'm still coughing from. Right. She had that, and that hit her pretty hard. But has gotten over that. So that was really rough because she was coughing to the point of vomiting like every 30 minutes, right, for a while. So that was really bad. But she's past that now, doing much better. So here's a couple of options. I've never stayed at the Hotel Austria, but it should be pretty good. Right downtown. The Balcones is my most likely place for me to use in the city, and we had someone from the channel use it recently. He was very happy with it. Very central. Quite a nice place. They've got pool and a fountain and gardens, and they do food there. And there's a full staff, and it's so centrally located that's a pretty big deal. To have a full hotel right in the heart of town, in the middle of the Colonial District. But it's a hotel with a bar and a restaurant. Nothing, nothing that anyone's going to go eat at the restaurant if they're not staying at the hotel. But people who stay in the hotel will often stay in the restaurant. I don't know that it's air conditioned though. I think air conditioning is available, but oh, it is. I just saw a picture of it in one of the rooms. But a lot of them, I think, don't have it too. So be aware. EPE Life. Hola, Scott. I'm happy listening from Messiah. Wishing you goodness. Peter Val. Hey, Peter. How's it going? I'm just looking. Oh no, it looks like all these. Maybe they've added air conditioning. I haven't stayed there in years, and so maybe they've added a lot of air conditioning and just made all their rooms with aircon now. Charlie Hotel near Ahora Mas. Cuban owner, $40 per night, huge pool, AC, and cable included for breakfast. Not bad. Good recommendation, Larry. I have never known anyone to stay there. It's an interesting location over on the bypass, and it's Charlie's Barbecue is what it says out by the road. So you're like, it's a barbecue place. Wait, it's a hotel? It's very funny. Oh, Luke's got to do his homework. Have a good night, Luke. Boy, at first I felt like we were really early. Now I feel like we've been on forever, and it's only coming up on 2 hours. It's very quiet around here. It's an old hotel, but very well maintained, 20 rooms or so. Oh, that's cool. Ron says there was a hotkey P. Hotcap? Vodka? Ron, I don't know what that is. Oh, we're carrying signs now. I have a lot of questions, but I'd bore the crowd. I'm kind of just chilling for now. I still can't figure out what Ron was trying to say. We do not have a lot of people on tonight. Oh, it's dropping. But our chat rate's up a little bit. We don't have to do a long one. Sometimes we do long ones. Sometimes we do short ones. I have plenty of work to do. So if we're a quiet group tonight, I'm more than happy. It is Easter. This would be a logical time to do a short one because probably not very many people on. Oh, okay, mostly about cooler weather cities and towns and finding bigger lots with garages. Oh, yes, I did see. I forgot that was you that had that question. So you asked me to compare Esteli, Jinotega, and Matagalpa plus other northern towns. So there's a lot of northern towns I haven't spent time in, so that's important to note. Like Acatal, have I been there? Yeah, of course. Have I spent time there? No, I haven't. So Acatal, Jalapa, some of those places up there, right, they get pretty small. You're going to have any place that starts to get small and remote, you're going to have, unlimited number of large lots. That's not going to be a problem. Loads of people have garages, right? Even smaller lots not generally have a garage, but generally could have a garage. Not rare in any way. Not a lot of people putting cars in those garages, but having a garage or a space for one, very common. So, small town, generally expats aren't too interested in small towns. Small town living in another country, especially like Nicaragua, can be challenging. No grocery stores, no shopping of any real type. Restaurants, there might be three, and all of them Nicaraguan food. If you're really lucky, someone's gonna have pizza. It can get like, in even a city of 30,000, you may have variety drop to zero if you're not careful. So typically, you're going to find expats in or near a larger settlement, and that's where Acatal even is very small. But Esteli, Jinotega, and Matagalpa tend to be the big draws in the mountains because they're of reasonable size. A lot of people gravitate to all of them. They each have their own distinct character, and really, you're just going to kind of hang out in all of them and see what you like. Esteli is probably the most popular, especially with those that have not been here yet. I don't know why. It sits right on the main highway. It's more accessible. It's on the way to and from places. It is the most expensive of these by a margin. It has the most popularity with the Chinese crowd these days. Oh, we're way down on people, so we're probably going to wrap this up after this bit. And it has the most modern, in my opinion, most modern pre-existing selection of apartments and houses. Like if you're looking for like, boy, I'd love to get one of those kinds of, Latin American modern apartments like you see on travel channels. Well, Esteli's the most likely to have that for you. It's there are not many, but there's even less other places. So it's flat. So if you're looking for a city that generally is walkable, it really has some advantages there. It has a good amount of sports and restaurants and stuff. It's quite popular. Matagalpa is probably the most popular overall with people who actually move and live here. It's the largest metropolitan area in the mountains. It is the second largest metro area in the country, but not the second largest city. It's the third largest city. But it dwarfs everything else, right? With a metro area of over 500,000 and a downtown city of something like 250,000, as opposed to Leon, which is a metro area of 300,000 and a downtown of 300,000. So it's a completely different character than a Leon, but it and its sprawling zone has this, like, nothing's flat, right? You're in the hills and valleys and river cut throughs in the middle of the city. It's my favorite because it's so big and it feels more urban, but more gritty urban, whereas Esteli is less urban but more modern. But Esteli's vibe doesn't really grab me, and Matagalpa's does. So I'm very much a Matagalpa guy, and then Matagalpa and Jinotega are much closer to each other. Jinotega is by far the smallest of the three, but it's still one of the big three mountain cities, right? The three of them all dwarf everything else, and if you include Acatal, then the four of them beyond dwarf everything else, right? Nothing even comes remotely close. So. Jinotega is very remote, getting close to an hour past Matagalpa. In most cases, you're actually going to drive through Matagalpa to get to it. Now, the road between them has actually kind of turned into its own suburban zone. It doesn't really go off that road, but as long as you're on that road, it's just restaurant and a hotel and little activities one right after another. Never clumped up in like a village, but you do get cool stuff one right after another, and an absolutely gorgeous drive, beautiful area. Love that part of the highlands. Jinotega has the coolest temperatures, but by far the least shopping, fewest restaurants, fewest bars, and so forth. But it does have pretty easy access to the high lake, to Lago Apenas, which is the hydroelectric power plant for the country, and a cool lake that you're completely allowed to go out boating on, and you can get a house on, or just hang out on the weekends and picnic out by the lake or whatever, go for a walk. Or there's events up there I've been to, mud racing and stuff up there. So all of them have charm. All of them have cooler temperatures. It really comes down to which one has the vibe that you're going to like. That will make all the difference. My weirdest question is about my friend who is an excellent car body man and would like to teach his skill. In general, nobody wants to learn from Americans or from foreigners. There could be exceptions. I'm not saying there won't be, but the idea that people are going to come down and teach skills rarely is something that ends up paying off or coming to fruition. Um, I said, but mostly help car owners needing body work. We have slowed with age, but we're still wondering if there's enough work to justify a huge garage. So there are car body shops absolutely everywhere. Keep in mind that the country is, one, there aren't a lot of cars. Two, people who get into accidents often don't get their cars fixed. Like your car gets bounced around like bumper cars out there. People don't die because everybody's going really slowly, but you do bounce off of each other often. And so the idea that you're going to spend money to have a really well taken care of car body, not a very big thing. You're talking about just a handful of people that care about that. I have a brand new luxury SUV. I don't care, right? We get hit so often, even just parked. The car gets hit so often that trying to deal with like taking out dings or making it not worth it at all. So that entire skill, for the most part, I feel is one of those things that doesn't exist here, right? There's people who do car body repair to make sure you don't have holes, to make sure it's not rusting, utilitarian stuff. And yeah, they're going to paint it so it doesn't look like some unbelievably weird thing on the side of the car. But, who is going to pay a premium for expertise in that? I can't imagine, right? And would you have a huge garage? No, there's a tiny one on every corner that does this stuff. So, I think you'd find it very, very difficult to justify. Can you do it? Can you, are you allowed to go out and buy a garage and say, yeah, absolutely. Right, but do I think it would be a lucrative business? No, I think you'd probably lose money, almost certainly. Ron says there was a hotel in Leon with a maze-type garden. It had 2 electric vehicle recharge station. That was a few years back. Is it still there? Sorry for my typing. I assume you mean El Convento, but I don't know for sure. They have something like a maze in the middle. I've never noticed them having electric car chargers, but there are car chargers around, so they easily do. But tailleurs, car maintenance places are so common here, right? Because you can set up your own, because the knowledge is freely available, right? If you want to learn how to do that, the government pays for you to go to school, or effectively does. So the training is generally free. The local knowledge of what parts are available, what prices are expected, what services are done, how they're done, what's considered acceptable, gives local people a big advantage. But because people just set up their own businesses, it's really common to have a lot of auto shops that no one's making money because there's just too many of them, because there's very few cars on the road, way too many mechanics, and just no business. Good to know. Still want a big enough garage to put up some solar, have a parking and crafting shop. Ron says, thanks, buenas noches. Buenas noches. Yeah, I think with that, I feel like we should call it a night. I've got loads of work to do, and I'm very focused, and I'm going to hang out with my kids in a little bit. It's been quite slow, but I really appreciate you guys. It's Easter, so cool week to be wrapping up early. Definitely watch another episode if you're looking for anything. I don't know why I'm feeling so sleepy today. I've been really productive all day, so I'm feeling really good about that. But I'm just reading my AI over here. It says ready for, and then a bunch of stuff, and then it says or shall we wrap up this session? What? What kind of response is that in the middle of a coding prompt? Weird. Obviously I'm not wrapping up this session, but I leave all my things open for forever. But that's just weird. Anyway, thanks everyone. Have a good night. Really appreciate all of you. Hope this was fun. And I know some of you I'm going to be seeing in just a week or so. And if I don't do any videos or talk to you, I will do videos. But if you don't see any of my videos or whatever, have a happy Easter, happy Passover, and see you all.